I am now joined by our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Thank you so much for being here, Woj. First, I want to ask you about your story from yesterday. Serious topic that matters to so many people around the league. We have a potential verdict coming up this week in the Derek Chauvin trial for the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. How is the league preparing for this, since so many people, players, staff members, everyone involved in the game, this is just so important?
Rachel, the league over the last several days has reached out to all 30 teams to have them be vigilant, be prepared for the possibility that there could be game postponements this week based on the verdict and the aftermath of that. And if there are protests, if there are, a number of circumstances that could dictate, that games for, perhaps 1 or even 2 days aren't played. Now, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who had a game postponed last week with the Nets, they made it up a day later. They're on the road the entire week. They're on a 4-game, 7-day trip that they started against the Clippers last night. But certainly the league is vigilant on this, and they've been in close contact with teams, and ultimately, we'll wait and see what happens once a verdict comes back.
Well, hopefully the verdict will be one that doesn't require amounts of people to go into the streets and protest. We hope that justice will be done. All right, I wanted to ask you also about Kevin Durant after he exited yesterday's game in the first quarter with a thigh injury. What's the update on his status?
Well, the Nets just wanted to see, Rachel, how he felt today coming back in. Typically with that kind of a bruise, I think you anticipate sometimes it may hurt more the next day, and then they would start to take his return to play from there and how long it's going to be. But there was no expectation that this was going to keep him out for any significant timetable, that this was going to be a day-to-day injury. So he came in to do his treatment. They were on the road. They play in New Orleans tomorrow. And so they're just kind of working through it with him. And there's no sense that this is a significant injury, Rach.
Good news for Nets fans. All right, we teased this off the top of the show, but now I want to play the full response from Zion Williamson when he was asked about playing in Madison Square Garden yesterday. Take a listen.
I'm glad you asked that, actually. New York is the mecca of basketball. I love playing. I love playing here. When I played here in college, and this is my first time playing here in the pros, and this atmosphere, whether they're cheering for you, whether they're booing for you, it's amazing. Honestly, I think outside of New Orleans, obviously, I think this might be my favorite place to play outside of New Orleans. I can't even lie to you. I can't lie to you.
Woj, that was just with a small percentage of the fans that are usually in the building allowed in the building. How are people around the league reacting to those comments from Zion?
Yeah, I think it gets your attention with Zion Williamson because he's always pretty careful with what he says. He's always pleasant. He's always talkative. But in this case, it was clear, and he even said it at the beginning, hey, I'm glad you asked that question. And he was ready to respond to it. Listen, certainly, I think when you're a small market team like New Orleans, you know that ultimately there's going to come a time where you're going to have to fend off big markets for your star players. And so they have a window of time here, really 3 years before he could, 3+ years before he could, potentially leave as an unrestricted free agent, to be winning, to have a great relationship with him, to show that all the outside endorsement things that you want are available to you in New Orleans. We've seen in history, whether you're in a small market or a big market, the big shoe deal. Zion got a huge shoe deal coming out of school. So those are all the things you have to be working on. But, certainly he was pretty animated with it, and it's certainly something I think down the road for people to keep their eye on. But right now, he's in New Orleans. He's going to be in New Orleans, and they have a window here with the young core they have to improve, get better, and make him want to stay there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.